Daisy Head Mayzie by Dr. Seuss. It's hard to believe such a thing could be true, and I hope such a thing never happens to you. But it happened, they say, to poor Mayzie McGrew, and it happened like this. She was sitting one day at her desk in school, in her usual way. Then she felt a small twitch on top of her head. So Mayzie looked up, and she almost dropped dead. Something peculiar was going on there. A daisy was sprouting right out of her hair. Behind her was sitting young Herman Butch Strudel. This looks like a daisy up here on her noodle. It doesn't make sense. Why it couldn't be so? A noodle's no place for a daisy to grow. Then up spoke another boy, Einstein Van Tass, the brightest young man in the whole of the class. It's a very odd place to be sprouting a daisy, but nevertheless one is growing. Amazing! Hey, look it, cried Butch, right here in the room. Daisy's head Mayzie. She's bursting in bloom. Miss Nietzsche, the teacher, came rushing up quick. Such nonsense! Some child here is playing a trick. Which one of you boys stuck that thing in her hair? You know that a daisy could never grow there. But teacher, said Butch, I saw this thing rise out of her head with my very own eyes. Just give it a yank if you think I tell lies. But Miss Nietzsche had heard quite enough of this talk. Mayzie, hold it. Let me get at the stalk. Ouch! hollered Mayzie. Quit yanking, Butch said. You're giving her pains. I'll bet that those roots go way down in her brains. The kids in the class started shouting like crazy. Daisy head, Daisy head, Daisy head, Mayzie. Children, be quiet. Good grief and alas. Miss Nietzsche was shocked by the noise in her class. I've taught in this room 20 years, maybe more, but I've never seen anything like this before. I'll have to report it. You'll just have to come to the principal's office and show Mr. Grum. Now, the principal, good Mr. Gregory Grum, was a very wise man, just as smart as they come. He knew more than anyone else in this nation about long division and multiplication. He knew all the answers, why oceans are deep, why skies are so high, and why mountains are steep. He should have the answer to this thing on Mayzie. My word, he declared, it's a genuine daisy. I've seen them quite often in the fields growing wild, but never before on the head of a child. Now, that what in the world ever made this thing sprout, I have no idea, but I'm going to find out. It says daisies grow on the land. They grow between rocks. They also grow in sand. It mentions right there they can grow in a pot, but mention the head of a girl. It does not. Daisies, it says, sometimes grow in Alaska, also Missouri, Rhode Island, Nebraska. They grow in Japan and in Spain and Peru, in India, France, and in Idaho too. But they grow in South Boston and also in Rome. But why should they grow on this little girl's doom? Say, look it, said Mayzie. It's wilty. It's dropping. How wonderful, Mayzie. It soon will be dead. You'll be rid of that daisy. In just a few minutes, our troubles will pass, declared Mr. Graham. Take her back to the class. Then the principal saw a most terrible sight. The daisy was dying, and that was all right. But that daisy was part of poor Mayzie McGrew, and Mayzie was starting to wilt away too. Teacher, said Grum, you know what I think? That they're both going to die. Hurry, bring them a drink. That Daisy, that girl's the worst problem in town. You take her away and you make her lie down. You lock her up tight in that room down the hall. There are quite a few numbers that I've got to call. Get Maisie's parents on the end of the line. I need them here quickly, where there still is time. On the phone, Maisie's mom asks, "What's all the fuss?" Then, "Goodness to Betsy, I'll catch the next bus." A call to the shoe store reached Mr. McGrew. He answered while holding a customer's shoe. "Yes, this is." "Oh no, I really must go." "A doctor should see her," the principal said, "and an expert on plants like the one on her head." So he called Mr. Einspart, who said, "What a trick! My stethoscope packed. I'll be there in a tick." "Wait, dog," said his patient. "I'll come along too. My brother's a vet, and he knows this McGrew." Then he heard Finch the florist grab for his shear. "I'll be there just as soon as my truck can shift gears." Meanwhile, poor Mayzie lay down on a couch. The daisy slumped down on its leaves in a slouch. But the window was open because it was warm, and the sweet-smelling daisy attracted a swarm of bees. Bees! Bees! The faster she ran, the faster they flew. So Mayzie kept running. What else could she do? She attempted to hide behind Officer Thatcher, who cupped out his hat like a bumblebee catcher. The bees took his hat. Thatcher said, "I'm no fool," and ran after Mayzie back to the school. Principal Grum didn't know what to do. "It's worse," cried Miss Sneecher. "Much worse than we feared. The Daisy and Mayzie have both disappeared." Behind her came charging Mr. McGrew, chased by a customer chasing his shoe. Finch the florist, Dr. Einspart too, Dr. Einspart's patient, and Mr. McGrew. Then through the window with Officer Thatcher, who slammed the pan shut so the bees couldn't catch her, jumped Mayzie McGrew to the floor in a spatter, with the daisy still there, except taller and fatter. "My poor little daughter, the daisy is true. I'm going to faint," cried Mrs. McGrew. "Tut, tut," said the florist. "There's no need for tears. Just because there's a daisy between two ears, I'll snip it right off with my sharp pruning shears." "She's my patient. Don't touch her. You must stand apart. We have to have room," said Dr. Einspart. "I think that Mayzie and her plant could help me get a research grant." Then the door opened wide, and the mayor stepped inside. At meeting and greeting, there was none to compare. He was best at long speeches, chock full of hot air. "I promise, my friends, that if I'm re-elected, the Daisy and Mayzie will be disconnected. The law of our father is simple and sound. Daisies belong and should stay in the ground. The rest are illegal. We'll bar them from town." From the back came a voice, sometimes loud, sometimes slick, of a wheeler and a dealer who knew every trick. "I'm Fingal the Aged. You've heard of me. I'm sure I present Young," that's his name, and others, now on tour. "But Mayzie, you're so special. Please let me shake your hand. Your talent is wondrous thing, unique in all the land." Daisy had Mayzie, spelled out in a bright light. We'll draw kids in the day and parents at night. Daisy had Mayzie. You've got quite a knack. Just stick with me, kid, and sign the contract. Your flower needs to sign too. Daisy had burgers and Daisy had drinks. Daisy had stockings and Daisy had sinks. Daisy had buttons and Daisy had bows. Mayzie was famous, the star of her show. Fame had knocked on Mayzie's door. Now she had it all and more. piles of money stacked in tins. But what is money without friends? A dream had led her far astray. The price she had to pay. Mayzie McGrew ran night and day, nowhere to go, nowhere to stay, because she was sure that everyone must have written her off in total disgust. Over and over again in her head, these are the words that poor Mayzie said. I can never go home. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. Nobody loved her. Poor Mayzie McGrew. It's hard to believe such a thing could be true. And maybe that's why then, this daisy above, when Mayzie Blue began talking of love. Well, you know about daisies? When love is in doubt, the job of a daisy, try and find out. They love her, they love her not. They love her, they love her not. Don't worry, Mayzie. They love you. They love me. Well, that's how it all happened. The thing went on, and Mayzie McGrew is quite happy today, back at her studies and doing just great in all her subjects in room number 8. And concerning that daisy, you know that it never grew out of the top of her head again, ever. Well, it practically never popped up there again, except occasionally, just now and then. And after all, I'm getting used to it. And that's the end. Bye!